Well, hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich, and I like to talk about leadership and engineering. Hey, in case you're wondering about the new background here, I guess I'm like everybody else in this COVID situation, just tired of being in one room, so I'm broadcasting from my garage. At any rate, hey, in this video, what I want to do is talk about one of the unforeseen upsides to COVID-19 as it relates to leading engineers. And what it is simply this, is I wonder if this is a situation where you might be able to identify some engineers that you want to start working with to develop into leaders. Now, on my last video, I emphasized that, leadership is a process of influence that involves relationship, communication, and vision. And I spent some time developing the idea that, it's not that we are on the hunt for leaders, but instead we work to develop leaders. But it doesn't mean there isn't a selection. It doesn't mean we don't spend time trying to decide who we develop. And so, and I guess I would say it this way. I don't think leadership is a trait, so I don't think we're hunting for the leaders in our organizations to develop. But I think what we are hunting for are people who show signs that they're interested in developing the key aspects of leadership. So it's more about finding people who are humble and willing to learn than maybe it is about somebody who's all just impressive and full of self-assurance and charisma and these sort of things. And so the question gets to be is who is it who looks like they might want to learn to develop their abilities to have relationships with the engineers, to communicate with engineers, and to cast a vision for engineers. And on that front, one of the kind of the theoretical basis of what I'm talking about today really comes from the data I gathered in my PhD dissertation. And one of the things I wasn't looking for this, but it was just unmistakably in the data, just from several of the participants, was this idea that when you have a leader who is toxic and or just simply very, very emotional. So you can be kind of crazy emotional without being all the way toxic. But anyway, when you have a leader who's angry, which is, I think, almost always ends up being toxic, or a leader who's depressed, or a leader who's just simply stressed, whether or not they're full on to the category of toxic, what we found is at least people's perception is the people who get picked by them to be leaders, who get picked by the stressed or angry or depressed leader, are generally the people, the engineers, who have developed the most effective strategies for dealing with the boss's anger or depression or stress. And so what you have is the leaders will pick to develop or pick to install leaders who can put up with their bad stuff. So in two observations, one is that's bad for the leader. I mean, for you to succeed as a senior leader, you need really good leadership below you, and that's simply the wrong criteria. And what also came out in the dissertation research was there was several of the participants who really were very proud of their ability to put up with a toxic boss, an angry boss, a depressed boss, or a stressed boss. But when you talk about the sort of things with these people who are proud that they can put up with it, when you ask them, well, what are the things they are proud of, and what are the things they think are their strengths, they all talk about their creative ways of putting up with the boss's junk as opposed to their creative ways to attack engineering. And the point is when you're a boss who's got all the anger and stress and depression and all these things, is your people are spending their creative energies trying to deal with you rather than solve engineering problems. So, that's bad. At any rate, so but the point here is for this video that as we think about who to pick to develop as leaders, I would challenge you to use this COVID situation to kind of see who might really be rising to the top. And so what you may find is somebody in your organization, somebody who works for you, is they seem to be spending a lot of time reaching out to coworkers, or maybe they're the ones putting together a lunch thing where, hey, let's all eat lunch together on Zoom or something like that. And you see elements of relationship, and you see them sort of just maybe spontaneously doing team building things, or especially trying to figure out who needs some encouragement. That's somebody you want to develop. And in terms of influence, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, let's say you have 6 people who work for you. If there's somebody who works for you and they say, "Hey, gang, let's all eat lunch or breakfast or have coffee," or they kind of suggest that everybody sort of bonds or does something like that on Zoom, and everybody goes along with it. I mean, there's your candidate right there. There's the one you want to start pouring into. And also, if you see somebody on your team who just simply keeps bringing up, so what's this going to look like? And maybe they're saying things like, I can see some advantages to this COVID thing. So I can see how we might want to do things different, or maybe we can work from home more, or they're already sort of trafficking in what the future will look like after COVID. Again, there's your candidate. So I know that can be kind of some tough medicine, especially if you're listening and maybe you struggle with anger, or struggle with you're just kind of stressed and are just sort of struggling with depression. And any one of those three, let me assure you, everybody in your team is aware of it. And, if you want to conduct a little experiment, let me tell you, if you go to one of your people and say, "Hey, am I an angry boss?" They're not going to tell you yes. They're going to change the subject. They're going to look frozen in the jury headlights. Or they're going to say, "Oh, no, not you." I mean, they're not going to do it. What I think is probably the bigger tell is how much of a pause there is in their response, because if you're not an angry boss and you say, "Am I an angry boss?" I mean, they're going to laugh and say, they're going to laugh, and their reaction is going to be very spontaneous and be kind of like that. I think they'll just kind of find the whole thing funny. But it's when they don't laugh, and maybe when there's a pause, that's the time you got to start asking yourself, "Oh boy, do I have a problem?" At any rate, and I would take it seriously. I mean, another thing I like to say with leadership is sometimes the most important thing a leader can do is to remain calm. And certainly with the COVID-19 thing, calm is good. And projects getting near the deadline, if you really want to help your team be productive, the most important thing you can do is remain calm and remain controlled. And also, actually, my dissertation found that happiness actually helps quite a bit too. So I'm not just saying, don't be angry, don't be sad, don't be stressed. But what I am saying is truly try to, genuinely be happy. And that can be a whole topic in its own. But maybe one thing to do to start that is to really back up and try to think about things that you can be thankful for your team, for your job, for other things. But make no mistake about it. How you handle your emotions as a leader affects your people, and how they're handling their emotions and how they're handling the stress of COVID-19. That could be a real strong indication that this is a person you really want to get into your leadership program. And maybe another way to look about it too is a common mistake leaders make is, when they pick a leader to train, they pick someone just like themselves. And I would challenge you to really go out of your way to say, well, I'm going to pick someone who really shows some signs of these 3 things and who isn't like me. And you may find that the overall leadership of the team is a lot stronger as a result. At any rate, thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich. I like to talk about leadership and engineering. If you'd like to hear more videos, you can go to tomulrichconsulting.com. I've got some pull downs there. You'll notice I've also got some videos on Arduino. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. It's not some strange French thing. It's actually sort of a microprocessor toolkit that's real popular. I'm teaching at Biola University these days, and I'm teaching a class using Arduino, hence the Arduino videos. But you can find videos on Arduino, videos on leadership, videos on any number of things. And also, if you're on YouTube, you can just simply search Dr. Tom Ulrich. At any rate, thanks for listening. If you don't mind subscribing, that helps me. If you give me a like, that helps me. If you want to have a question or a comment, go ahead and enter that, and I'll respond to it personally. At any rate, stay safe. Try not to go crazy in this COVID thing, and we'll talk to you next time.